not work. And what I'm going to show you is how I've built my business over the course of time and some of the latest strategies that you'll ever hear on internet marketing. You won't hear many of these strategies talked about online, and if you do, most people are actually doing them wrong. I'll prove it to you and I'll show it to you. But, as you build your business and as your name becomes known, and all of you will, the fact is that you'll get on certain lists. And I'm not talking about email lists. I'm not talking about spam lists. I'm talking about the good type of lists that should be on. In fact, I was on a list. I got a letter in the mail. And this letter was very, very official. And when I got that letter in the mail, I opened it. Me and my wife both got it. And the letter actually had a little invitation. The invitation looked like this. His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, President of the Prince's Trust, requests the pleasure of the company, Mr. Armand Morin, at a gala dinner to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Prince's Trust to be held at Buckingham Palace. And this was a couple years ago in 2006. So is that kind of cool to get those kinds of invitations in the mail? Who would like to be on that list? I mean, it's kind of a cool list to be on. I mean, I was there, Kathy and Rick Hilton there, Paris Hilton's mom and dad, Ridley Scott, the director, was there, Simply Red, the group actually played during dinner. They were our dinner music, believe it or not. So that was kind of cool. In fact, this is my experience with Kathy Hilton. Kathy Hilton is, Paris Hilton's mother. And I was standing there, and it's a black tie, black suit, and, a tuxedo type of event. And first of all, even before I tell you that part, what happened was I get there, I'm dressing up, it's like 6 o'clock, and a driver's supposed to pick us up to take us over to Buckingham Palace, right? Well, all of a sudden, I'm getting ready to put on, my socks, my shoes. I have my tuxedo on and everything. I'm putting on my shoes. And I asked my wife, I said, where's my black socks? And she says, didn't you pack them? So now I'm thinking for a moment. Think about this. I'm getting ready to go have dinner at Buckingham Palace. And I have two choices in front of me right now. One choice, which is actually kind of funny, is to show up with no socks, which would actually be a funny story. The second choice is to show up in white socks, which is still a funny story. So I called downstairs, and when I called downstairs, all of a sudden, I called up and I said, hi, my name's Armand Morin, and I'm having dinner at Buckingham Palace in a few minutes, and I don't have any black socks. And the guy hangs up on me. And I'm like, well, that's kind of rude. So all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door, right? And the guy shows up there with black socks. I'm like, well, they take this whole, royalty thing pretty seriously around here. But the fact is that I'm standing there in Buckingham Palace. And all of a sudden, I'm leaning up against the wall, and it's the end of dinner, and Kathy Hilton comes up, and she says, excuse me, could you tell me where the restroom is? And so I pointed her to the restroom. It was, kind of like right there. But then I started thinking about it after. I said, you know what? I told my wife after a few minutes, I said, I think that she thought I was the help. And sure enough, in fact, I am positive that she thought that I was the hired help at Buckingham Palace to this day. So, anyway, forget it. It's a bad joke. But anyway, I feel pretty safe today. Because the last time I was in England speaking, this is what my wife bought while I was out of town. So, ladies, think about this. When you go out of town, if your husband goes out of town, what do you buy? What do? You go shopping, right? Well, as my income grew, so did my wife's shopping grew. But also along with that is that, let's go back for a second, because I thought it was safe not too long ago, but when it happened was this, is that my wife went actually out and she picked up this while I was out of town speaking. So right now what I'm doing is I'm curving back my speaking schedule. So I keep some things. But the fact is I'm celebrating. And the reason why I'm celebrating is because my company recently hit, now I want you guys to think about this for a moment, $65 million in total sales. $65 million. $20 million of that was last year alone. $20 million in sales. Now think about that. It's an average of $57,000 a day. Now, I work from home. In fact, let me show you how big my company is. Could you stand up, sir? And ma'am, could you stand up? Could you stand up, please? Could you stand up? Could you stand up? And could you stand up? And, sir, could you stand up? This is the size of my whole company that does $20 million in sales. 7 people run my whole company. Oh, that's including me, and that's including my wife. So I only have 5 other people working for us. And you know what? They work from home too. So I don't see anybody every day. Thank you very much. Now the fact is that normally on any given day, let's put it this way, I usually don't dress up this much. Does that make sense? Let's put it this way, I usually don't have this many clothes on. Does that make sense? Okay? So the thing is that the reality of you being at home and competing with some of the largest businesses in the world is true. You can do it. I have a student of mine not too long ago. She started with me in November. And in 3 months, she had an income of over $100,000 a year. Is that good? How many people would like that? Part-time, 3 months, $100,000 a year. And that's what she did. There's countless stories that we've done with people like that. But what do these people have in common? Let's put this all into perspective. I mean, we have Norah Jones, we have Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Gordon Ramsay. We have Kate Blanchett, Patrick Dempsey, Tom Cruise, Ellen DeGeneres, Sarah Jessica Parker, Charlie Sheen, Nicole Kidman, and Jennifer Lopez. And Jennifer Lopez. I said that twice because I think she's nice looking. But what do all these people have in common? Anybody? Yell it out. They make less money than I do. You're right. They all make less money than I do. Now, is that kind of cool? Think of the possibilities. I mean, according to Forbes magazine last year, they all made less money than I do. Now, that's the possibilities of what you can do with your own business. In fact, you can do anything on the internet. That's the reality. You can do anything you want. You can create anything you want if you know some simple rules that we're going to cover today. In fact, I had a good friend of mine, and he was a